Number one is keep it low carb. Second powerful tip, tracking your intake 30 seconds every day. Number three is light and sleep. It's gonna give you a lot of what you need to optimize your hormone. All right, friends, so last fall I put together a video on 3 powerful carnivore diet weight loss tips, and it's been about 5 months since I put that video together, and I think that there's some refinements I want to make on the video. I think the video is really good. It's actually one of the most viewed videos on our channel, so if you're really interested in weight loss, I think it's definitely got some great content in the video about why one would even want to explore the carnivore diet, why it might even be possible to lose weight on the diet, what we can do about all of this. But I wanted to refine it a bit and just kind of look at what I've done so far and what I've learned and just go through some of the information here. So let's jump into what I think 3 powerful carnivore diet weight loss tips are heading into 2020 and kind of where we're going with this. So I'm gonna give you 3 powerful weight loss tips, but I wanna talk about the carnivore diet. Obviously, Carnivore Kurt, that's the channel. I have a bias towards this diet, but I wanna mention a few reasons why I think this diet is so powerful for someone coming in wanting to lose weight. And I think if you're losing weight or you're in a situation with a health seriousness, this is really something to consider because there's so much anecdotal feedback and stories and evidence now supporting the recovery of health, reduction in autoimmune, inflammation, and just overall people getting back a lot of their health in this community that I think it's really powerful. So here's some of the reasons why the carnivore diet specifically can give you some power and really give you an edge when you're doing this weight loss thing. Number one, it's low inflammatory. Whenever you're inflamed, you're gonna look and feel more bloated. You're just gonna look and feel more puffy. So weight loss is kind of a 2-part prong approach for me. One is like you wanna lean down, you wanna manage your weight and get to a level. But the other aspect is you wanna look good, you wanna look healthy, you wanna look lean. So when you remove foods and do an elimination diet like the carnivore diet that's very nutrient dense, animal food focused, you're eliminating plant toxins, plant triggers, a lot of the molecules in today's market, and you're also taking a lot of foods off the table that could be refined, processed, and triggering inflammation or high histamine load. So you're getting rid of all of that. The second aspect of the carnivore diet is you're getting rid of bloating and digestive issues. When you get rid of fiber, yes, I know this sounds crazy, but when you get rid of fiber, we see in interventional studies that people actually benefit. They feel better, they have better bowel movements, they reduce constipation, they reduce digestive issues. When you get rid of fiber, you are likely actually gonna have better digestive issues, much less bloating, and much less issues. In addition, the diet is low residue, so you're actually not consuming foods that are wasteful, and your body's actually able to process them without all the other sort of noise and stuff that your body has to process through and get wasted. So if you're not bloated, if you're not inflamed, if you're not dealing with some sort of autoimmune or inflammation, you're gonna look leaner, you're gonna feel better, and it's gonna fuel you in a good way. Now, here's the other point with the carnivore diet that I really want to emphasize before we jump into these 3 powerful tips and reasons why that the carnivore diet can help with weight loss. The diet itself is super nutrient dense, and that is a huge aspect to hunger and satiety, to your feeling of feeling full that your body is naturally going to be triggered on. If you're eating carb-heavy potato chips that are processed, there's not a lot of nutrition in there, but there's a lot of calories. And so you're constantly bombarding your body with food and calories, but you're not giving your body the nutrients, the vitamins, the minerals, the full, complete essential amino acids from protein that your body wants. And so your body doesn't feel full when you snack on foods like that. It's delicious, it can be great for the soul, but it's not something you want to be consuming on a regular basis, certainly not if you're looking to lose weight and you're dealing with health issues. So when your body eats and gets the vitamins it needs, whether it's vitamin A, whether it's B vitamins, C vitamins, folate, vitamin D, when it gets all these minerals and nutrients in ample form, it tells you, oh, I'm not hungry anymore, and you don't eat as much. You're literally full. And I've heard this from a number of people on the carnivore diet. When they eat, they have one meal and they're full for hours. They're not eating some sort of refined carb meal and then hungry again. They eat and they're stuffed. They're not stuffed, but they're satisfied. And so when you go carnivore, you're gonna find, especially for weight loss goals, Initially, if you have nutrient deficiencies, if you've been eating maybe a heavy plant-based diet and missing out on some of the organs and some of the micronutrients you need, you might actually gain weight because you're consuming very nutrient-dense food and your body's just picking up all these nutrients. But then you're gonna transition, you're gonna actually lose weight. So, I know that was a lot before we got into the tips, but I just wanna get that out of the way because if you reduce inflammation, if you reduce bloating, if you reduce autoimmune response, and if you give your body the minerals and the nutrients it's needing, you're gonna be feeling like you're full. You're not gonna be wanting to eat a bunch of food. You're going to be satiated with all the nutrients you need, and you're not gonna be bloated, and you're gonna be much leaner in terms of how you look and how you feel. So let's talk about the 3 specific powerful tips for the weight loss. Number 1 is keep it low carb. Now, in my last video and the first one I did on this, I said keep it keto. And low carb and keto aren't necessarily the same thing. The difference between low carb and keto is really fat intake. Fat on ketogenic diets needs to be probably over 70%. Low carb just means keep your carbohydrate count probably below 20 grams of carbs a day. Now, in the carnivore diet, you're naturally gonna eat a lot of fat, and that's important, and that's something that when you're looking at losing weight, it's something that's probably gonna be very beneficial to you. And here's the big thing. A lot of people look at weight loss and they look at counting calories. They try to restrict what they're eating, cut back on the volume of the food that they're eating. The problem with this is weight loss is really about your hormones. Probably the most important thing is your hormones. Your hormones tell you when you're hungry, they tell you when you're full, they tell your body to burn fat, they tell your body when to store fat, they give you energy and they give you recovery. So it's really about managing your hormones, and I would argue that most people that are overweight or out of shape or dealing with some sort of metabolic dysfunction or obese are probably messing up their hormones, or their hormones are already messed up. And we need to get your hormones back into shape. And the way you do that is, there's multiple ways you can do it, but from a carnivore diet perspective, the way you do it is through adding up the fat intake, healthy animal fats, which are rich in vitamins and nutrients, and dropping down the carbs. And the reason for that is largely because of insulin. You want to keep the insulin levels in your bloodstream lower. You don't want to constantly spike them. And historically, what people do when they get overweight is they're eating a lot of foods that are triggering and upticking their insulin levels. When you have hyperinsulinemia, meaning elevated levels of insulin for prolonged periods of time, the insulin hormone signals to your body to stuff your cells with the excess sugar, and they become stored fat cells, and they cannot open up to release their energy. When you drop the insulin levels, your body then taps into your body's fat reserves, and it can actually burn the fat reserves you have within your cells. So it's really important to keep the insulin down. Now, insulin isn't terrible. You do want insulin to be elevated at times, but when it's chronically elevated, that's when it becomes a problem. And what we see in the standard American diet is that a lot of people are eating foods that are just constantly spiking insulin, and they're not giving them these micronutrients that are satiating them. And so because they're having these empty calories that are elevating insulin, they're just stuffing their cells. And because insulin is signaled up, your cells never know to turn off and actually open up to release the fat stores, because they're constantly getting signaled to actually store in fat with insulin. So it's a big game of lowering your carbohydrates and lowering the insulin signaling to get your body to actually signal to release fat from its fat reserves. Hormones, I'm telling you, the biggest thing you want to focus on is focus on getting your hormones right. Your body will naturally go to the composition and the desire that you want, and you'll feel amazing. These are essentially the macronutrients, the proteins, carbs, and fat intake that you want to take. Determining how much fat, how much protein, what your sort of overall caloric intake was. In my first video about this, I said track your macros. That was the first point I made. And this second powerful tip is really just about tracking your intake in a more loose way. I don't want you to feel like you have to learn how to track macros religiously or use it in a very specific way where you have to do a food calculator and weigh out all your food, but you need to journal. You need to create some sort of tracking method. Peter Drucker is a famous business executive, and one of his famous quotes is, "That which we don't measure, we cannot improve." If you're not measuring what you don't track, the mind is gonna lie to you. You're going to tell yourself stories. You're gonna easily forget what you're eating. You're gonna forget that chocolate bar you ate, that bag of chips you ate, that bag of peanuts you're consuming. And when you don't at least jot it down and take a few minutes to journal it at the end of your day, you don't have a sense. You're gonna lose track. You're gonna consciously protect yourself from looking at the reality, because that's part of what the human emotions and body do and your mind does, and you're not going to be aware of what's going on. And it's going to prevent you from developing the awareness to actually take control of what you want to do. When you make a mini habit of just say 30 seconds in the day I'm going to write, because 80% of a habit is starting it, just starting it. Even if you only say I have to do 30 seconds of journaling, that's fine. 2 or 3 notes on each of the meals you ate in that day. What did I eat? How much did I eat? How long? How much of the food? What type of food was it? Just something to track. You just start keeping a journal every day. You can go back at the end of the week and you can do a reflection for a few minutes, and you can say, oh man, I ate so many peanuts today and that just loaded me up with inflammation and it triggered me and it gave me an extra 1,000 calories, and yeah, I didn't get satiated on that. So track your stuff just loosely. You don't need to go hardcore. Now, if you want to go macro track, I've done a full video on that, and you can absolutely jump into that and get really deep into macro tracking. And I encourage people who want to get into it to do it, because it can be a very valuable way to get a good sense of what you're eating and what you're getting in your diet and how many calories you're actually doing. But again, track it just to get a sense of awareness, so you have a sense of how you can adjust, because a lot of what you're eating is habitual, and it's something that you don't even consciously think about, and you've just sort of developed over habits. And when you can consciously become aware of it, you can start to then make adjustments. Number 3 is light and sleep. And again, this actually really supports the first point around your hormones and keeping things low carb. Again, a lot of weight loss is going to come down to optimal hormones. Is your sleep melatonin production high at night? Is your testosterone, progesterone, estrogen levels, are all these hormones regulated in the right levels for your body to optimally optimize the energy you're consuming and to properly regulate? Is your insulin low, so that most of the time it's fasted, it's going to be down, and your body can use the fat reserves in your fat, the fat stores, and properly tap into those to utilize and create energy for you. If you have all these dialed in, you're gonna do really well, and you're gonna naturally and effortlessly have more energy, look more vital, lean up, drop inflammation, and basically lose weight without really having to try to fight an uphill battle. You're gonna see lower hunger levels. And so get light. UVA, UVB spectrum light from the sun. We are a species of animals that evolved outside. The incandescent bulb was developed only about 150 years ago. We are meant to experience sunlight. We are meant to experience full spectrum light. Despite what dermatologists would have you believe, it is not unhealthy to get sun exposure. Yes, you do want to be careful. You don't want to get acute, damaging, burning sun exposure, but chronic, titrated, gradual exposure that doesn't burn you is important to get. I recommend typically getting 30 minutes of natural outdoor light at a bare minimum. I typically take my business calls and my sun calls, and I try to take some of my breaks in the middle of the day outdoors on my sun deck. I live in a place where it's very warm in the southern part of the United States. If you're up north where it's colder and you can't do that, I understand. Look at ways to get some sun exposure from a tanning bed. I know that sounds crazy. Again, I'm not saying go and burn in a tanning bed or go tan hardcore. If a tanning bed has a 10-minute max or a 15-minute max, do 20% of that. But try to give yourself 2 to 3 minutes, 2 to 3 times a week of exposure to ultraviolet A and ultraviolet B radiation. That light is going to help your body stimulate the prohormone vitamin D3. That is going to be a signal for your body to produce more of the hormones and to actually upregulate those hormones and give you better quality sleep, better overall hormones for anabolic building blocks, for burning fat. It's going to be a huge game changer. So highly recommend that. So again, just to recap the 3 powerful tips. 1, keep it low carb. This again really plays with the hormone of insulin. And insulin is a big player in terms of burning your body's fat reserves and really just supporting your sensitivity to that hormone and overall metabolic function. Number 2, track your intake. Again, you don't have to go crazy and do what I do with macro tracking. You can, I have a video for you and I'll walk you through the whole process, but you don't have to do that. You just need to take 30 seconds every day and start journaling. Write down what you're doing. Write down what you ate. Just don't put pressure on yourself to make it a huge detailed task. Just put pressure on you to start it, to just try and do it every day. This is gonna create awareness. That which we track, we can improve. That which we track, become aware of. And by just developing that awareness, you're going to benefit and be able to make adjustments down the road. Number 3, optimize your light and sleep. Again, light is going to basically give you all you need from a hormonal perspective. It's gonna give you a lot of what you need to optimize your hormones. When you get ultraviolet A, it helps with vasodilation, nitrous oxide production. It's very good for your cardiovascular system. When you get UVB from the sun, you produce most of your vitamin D3, which is a pro-hormone, and it's not even really a vitamin, it's actually a precursor to many of your hormones, which allows you to burn fat. It's allowing you to tap in and activate and upregulate your body's metabolism and your overall hormonal system to better burn fat. And then ultimately it's gonna play into your ability to produce melatonin, to better sleep more deeply and recover, and to get the optimal hormones you need to set yourself up for the best weight loss. So I hope that was helpful. If you made it this far, thank you for watching. Hit that like button, comment, subscribe, share this video with somebody who's maybe struggling with the weight loss or wants to know more about weight loss. And if you're interested more in the carnivore diet, I wrote an entire book on the topic. You can click the link down below in the video description to learn more about purchasing that book. And until next time, let's get optimized. Thank you so much.